Welcome to class. Thanks for coming. Let's start. Tadasana Namaskara. Feet close all together and hands in the prayer position, the Namas position. Breathing through the nose if you can. Just give it a little change of the lighting a bit. Breathing through the nose if you can. So the feet are together if the thighs are together, but if the thighs come together before the feet, then the feet can stay apart. If the thighs don't come together at all, no matter how close you bring the feet, that's fine as well. Different shaped thigh bones are normal. Feel into your feet by moving them any way that works for you. For me, it's a movement laterally. I lift the inner foot of one foot and then the inner foot of the other, and I do that multiple times. Eyes are soft, brain is soft, throat is soft. Raise your arms up. Light tone in the tummy. Urdhva hasta. Hands up, it means. The light tone is reiterated. That is to say that it's sort of, we say in Sanskrit, abhyasa, again and again and again, like combing. Like if you comb, so if you know, maybe you're someone who does, or you know someone who does comb their hair. I don't comb my hair, but some people do. And that encourages the various fibers to come together in the same direction. So similarly, as you raise your arms up, you're scanning the body for holism. Press the feet, raise the fingers, inhale, exhale, bend ankles, knees, and hips and tilt forwards from the hip joints, the top of the outer thighs. In Vajrasati Yoga, we always differentiate between hips and hip joints, and then moving up and down and left and right, whatever works for you. You can feel a stretch, I'm sure, in the calcaneus tendon. The pose is Utkatta. Inhale to stand up, big circle, hands to heart. Breathe deep, expressive and honest, and step or jump the feet to Tarasana. Tara, of course, is the beautiful goddess that we find featured in Mahayana Buddhism and in the collection of 10 goddesses and the Dasha Mahavidyas. But it means stars. You make your body like a star. And then left toes in, right foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the right foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Should give you heel to arch alignment, which is desirable for many reasons that we can talk about. Inhale, exhale, pelvis movement, a hamstring stretch. A natural response to the hamstring stretch is investigative or spontaneous or conversational tone of the front thigh. Eyes are soft, brain is soft, throat is soft, tongue is soft. So it's a meditative or investigative trikonasana on the first side of the pose. And of course, it's meditative in the sense that we massage ourselves into absorption, which manifests and shows up in the breath. We massage ourselves into absorption. Inhale. Good job. Come on up. Hands to the hips, feet facing forwards. Breathe through your nose if you can. Turn your back toes in. Front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. Second side of Trikonasana. Second side of Trikonasana. Raise the arms to raise the ribs. Breathe through your nose. Inhale, exhale. Meditative. The purpose is to reappear in her arms, metaphorically speaking. So you disappear from this sort of feeling of isolation, loneliness, separation, tired, confused. Sorry to list all these. And you reappear in this beyond tat param purusha kya ter gunavaitrishnam. Tat param, that unsurpassable, the furthest. You can even translate it as the highest, or as far as you can go. Param. Tat param purusha kya ter. The person who knows it. Gunavai Trishnam is quenched. It's a sort of summary of that, is quenched. As their thirst quenched, they're satisfied. Inhale. Come on up. Well done. That's the second side of Trikonasana. Hands on the hips. Just get those feet feeling even. So we're not pushing too much weight to one side or the other. We reiterate movement to balance between the inner and outer ankle. And of course, the balance is in itself a meditation back into the field, because the only reality there is ultimately is the field of everything being interdependent with everything else. Tarasana again. So Tarasana, Tara, as I mentioned before, is this goddess, but the name means star. Then continue upwardly with the arms, responding by meditatively, responsively toning the tummy, meditatively, responsively, like a sort of super sensual listening / responding that's beyond thinking. Unmani, the Hatha texts tell us unmani. It's beyond thinking. Back toes turn in, front foot and leg turns out, the whole body's turning. And then you walk your front foot further across the width of the mat, lift the back heel, turn it out, bring it down again. We go usually up to, but not beyond hip width. If you go beyond, the whole pose starts to feel collapsed. Tone the tummy reiteratively, like you're combing hair in one direction, for those that comb hair, or for those that know people who comb hair. I'm obviously not a hair comber, not since the 80s. Inhale, raise up from the hip joints. Exhale, bend the front knee. And then play with it. One thing I find useful is to lift my heels, sometimes one, sometimes both. It's not inherent, nothing is inherently useful. You can use it. So I can use lifting my heel for teasing the tissue of the back leg around, for example, or for deepening the tissue in the front leg from the back of the thigh towards the front of the thigh. But we know that poses are best done little by little, lots of little increments get you a lot further than trying to achieve everything in one or two big movements. Lots of little nudges and movements into greater agreement, into greater yoga. Inhale with the pelvic floor in your awareness, and then coming up, take a big circle, just level the feet up, hands on your hips, breathe through your nose, eyes soft, jaw soft, brain soft, throat soft. Find the pelvic floor. Find the pelvic floor, right? So pelvic floor, for me to find it, I have to move my pelvis. And because when you move your pelvis, the muscles of the pelvic floor, which are super responsive, they move. Their movements help you. They're part of the movement of the pelvis, along with abdominal muscles and so on. The pelvic floor muscles are definitely involved in the movement of the pelvis. So if you move your pelvis, you'll feel those muscles coming online in quite subtle ways. Raise the arms, Tarasana, and then raising up beyond, toning the tummy meditatively, making sure the roots of the neck are part of the surrender, the Sharanagati, the surrender. Yoga really does focus on surrender. It really does. So traditionally, again and again, we see it. Back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body's turning. Walk your front foot further across the width of the mat. Lift the back heel, turn it out, and then land it again. And you can do that more than once, of course, as many times as you want. Light tone in the tummy, finding the pelvic floor, breathing through the nose. That pelvic floor awakeness is subtle, sukshma, subtle. The pelvic floor awakeness is beautifully subtle. Inhale, exhale, bend your front knee. And then there may be a variety of methods that you might use to tease the tissues around into what we might call yoga, union. We sometimes call it agreement in the Vajrasati school. So teasing the tissues round into agreement again and again, abhyasa, with tone in the tummy and a buoyant pelvic floor and the roots of the neck soft, and repetition tuning us in to deeper levels of harmony, even symbiosis, resonance. Inhale, pelvic floor subtly in your awareness as you come up. Big wide circle, hands to hips, walk your feet towards each other, left foot to right foot to left foot, and a little kick out I think is warranted at this point. Bring the feet close together, arms by your sides. We started the class with Tadasana Namaskara. We're back in Tadasana now. It can be useful once you've brought your feet close or together, and if they're not together, make sure they're level, that you don't have one foot going one way and the other going the other. Not that everything has to be symmetrical all the time, but the body has some skaras, the body-mind has some skaras. So disciplining the body is a way of noticing tendencies, aka samskaras. And tendencies are conditioned. They're part of this cycle of conditioned co-production that we call the wheel of karma or samsara, going round and round. Action and reaction, like that. Holding as if you're holding bags. Sorry about my throat, a bit hoarse tonight. As if you're holding shopping bags, heavy shopping bags. And maybe they've got potatoes. Maybe they've got oat milk. Maybe there's a pumpkin of equal size in each bag. But either way, the weight you can really imagine is pulling down on the shoulders. And it starts to feel good, I think. But it's natural as the shoulders pull down, especially the collarbones, the outer edge of the collarbones, feel like they're sort of pulled down to want to push up against that through the core of the body. So we have this sort of internal, external experience. The external, sloughing off, imagining the bags, pulling down, the internal, pushing up, and there's a relationship between those two. Like a snake sloughing off its skin. As you push up, there's a sloughing off. As there's a sloughing off, like the heavy shopping bags, there's a pushing up. And it comes to a point where it's impossible and even not even desirable to differentiate between the up and the sloughing off down of the soft tissue. And this combination is really the heart and soul of Tadasana. It's a pose that confuses people, I think. But if you think about it like that, inner and outer body relationships, prana and apana, so upward moving, downward moving energies. Okay, when you're ready, raise up your right heel. And you can place your foot on the inner ankle, you can cup the knee, or you can place the foot right at the top of the thigh. They're all fine positions. And the hands can come to prayer, breathing through the nose if you can. Soft eyes, natural breath. Part of the poses I categorize as wobbly fun. Eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. And there are hundreds of interesting aspects to Vrikshasana that you can pay attention to. For example, relationships. It's all about relationships between, say, the crease where the bum and thigh meet, the gluteal fold or gluteal crease, cutting in and the front groin lifting up, and it's very subtle relationship where the breath must flow for you to be able to have a chance of feeling that beautifully subtle cutting in, lifting up. They're codependent. Okay, release your hands, place your foot. We're always looking for codependence as yoga practitioners. We're always looking to see it, to experience it, because it is the source of our liberation. Take deep breaths. The realization of codependence is the source of our liberation. What is it that we're liberating from or to? We're liberating from this limiting belief, this avatar of self that we keep creating, and it limits us massively. So we're letting that dissolve, and the best way to do that is to realize codependence. So we're standing in Tadasana, maybe experiencing the feet, hopefully breathing freely. And when you're ready, up comes the other foot. Got those options again, inner ankle, cupping the knee, or at the top of the thigh. And then the hands can come to prayer. Often helps with balance, actually, the prayer position. But I find the most important thing in terms of balance are the foot arches. The foot arches. So adjusting and readjusting your foot, oftentimes even before you come up, to feel those foot arches. And there are 3 on each foot. I think it's profound. The dullness of the foot arches is a sort of mirror of our own dullness. That is to say, our own lack of awareness or entry into the arms of the goddess. She's there, but we're not aware of her. And so we suffer by clinging to this sense of me, myself, and I. Breathing through the nose. It's meditative, I hope. Inner groin, outer hip, gluteal crease, front thigh. Wonderful. Gosh, I never, ever, ever tire of this pose. Release your hands. Always a good one. Place your foot down. Take a breath or two. Just have a little shimmy or shake. Now, you might need a belt for what we're going to do. And I'm going to take off my tank top. Yeah, it's got a bit serious now. So I'm going to take off my tank top, but you might need a belt, because we're going to hold one hand with the other behind our backs. And for most of us, it's going to be better to use a belt rather than straining to reach, because we need enough but not too much stretch. Now, what is enough and what is too much? Enough creates a challenge for what is habituated in the muscles or habituated in the nerves. It's a challenge to that. It's challenging for occupation of the muscles. Too much is where a sensation is sort of squashing or pushing everything down so it can't move. It's too much. How do you judge your breath? Your breath should flow. Your head should be able to be aligned with the spine in this pose, energetically flowing. And so that's psychophysical, isn't it? Energetically flowing is psychophysical. Breathing through the nose. Jaw soft. Not holding the breath at all. Okay, great. Release, take your own time. Take a breath. Shake out if you want to. And obviously, when you're ready, the other arm will come up, and similarly, we'll take direct or indirect via the belt. And again, we've got to make sure it's the right amount of stretch, a challenge to the habits coming from the nerves, used to dominating the body. The main habit, of course, that most of us have is the habit of doubt. Most of us spend a lot of our time either in doubt or finding ways to override it or ignore it or counterbalance it. Joining groups, joining arms with others, and railing against things together. I think we should protest, of course, but look at your motivations. Look at our motivations. Are we motivated by compassion, or are we motivated by a sense of togetherness that helps to compensate for the doubt that we feel around this sense of I. If it's the latter, then that's not the best motivator. Compassion is the motivator par excellence. Breathing through your nose, moving if you find it useful, looking for and serving flow, vahi, and finding the pelvic floor. Slow and easy, release your arms, wiggle the fingers if you want to, wiggle in if you want to. And then keep it. I find it useful to wiggle the fingers even as I raise my arms, because the nerves go right the way through to the brachial plexus that come into the fingers, into the all of the fingers. But you can feel some particularly serve these three fingers and others serve these two fingers. Three main nerves, the ulnar, the median, and the radian. Okay, once you've raised your arms, you can bring them down again, and then raise them one more time so your hands are higher than your shoulders, and bring your right arm over the top of your left arm. And you can repeat. And once you've brought your right arm over the top of your left arm, just hold it there. Breathe into the deltoid. Keep your eyes soft. See if you can find a sensation that's particularly, just kind of eats you. Your language changes, whether it be internal or external language, into a proto-language. And so this is the stretch of the deltoid. Such an important, powerful muscle, the deltoid. It has three aspects to it that really do a lot of work. So I could spend quite a long time. I hope you feel the same. Just holding the deltoid and breathing into it. But when you're ready, you can release. And we're going to do the same thing with the deltoid again, but this time see if we can wrap the arms further over. Maybe you do it 2 or 3 times to wrap them all the way around, or as close to all the way around as you can get. And breathing through the nose. So lots of little actions make big progress. Maybe the palms come together, maybe they don't. Then we've got 2 choices: stay squatting, stay with the feet together rather, and come to squatting, or take the opposite leg to the top arm to be your top leg, wrap it around the other, wrap the toes around, work them around, and then come low. So either squatting with the feet both on the floor, or squatting with one leg wrapped around the other. Breathing through your nose if you can, keeping the jaw soft if you can. One of many versions of Garudasana. Coming up slow and calm. Great for the calcaneus tendon. Great for the shoulders. Release calmly. Sorry, I'm sure it muffles the microphone when I do that. Hopefully you can still hear. Jaw soft, eye soft, throat soft, brain soft. Similarly with the other side. So bring the arm across, give it a good old hug. So the second book that I've written, and there are 3 currently in progress. The second, which I've finished, it's just being edited, and then I'm responding to the editor's requests. The editor is Kate Durrant. In that book, I describe, and in the first book in a shorter way, the 2 stepping stones of yoga. One is a rich experience, like a stretch, like the stretch of your deltoid, if you get it really held well. And 2, the second stepping stone, which is essential to take, is giving to that stretch, which you do via the breath. At every moment of our life, we're always giving or holding via the breath. So use your breath, meditate into the arms. And for Goddess, she's not a concept. She's not something you reach for. She's not outside of anything you experience. She is everything that you experience returned to its source, whether it's a thought about the goddess, whether it's a breath. She's everything returned to its source. A few more deep breaths like this, very beneficial, very beneficial. I could do that for ages. I really enjoy that, but we're going to release the arms and then go into as big a wrap round as we can through a process of increments. As you can see, my arms are moving and removing. That's because one thing I've sort of tuned into is this sort of intuitive little by little method, which really works. Use your breath, breathe into it, breathe a yes into it. Bend ankles, knees, and hips. You can continue to bend down to a squat with both feet on the floor, or take the opposite leg to the top arm and wrap around to wherever you come to, and then extend downwards. So either way, we're extending downwards, whether both feet are on the floor or one. Jaw soft, eyes soft, breathing into it. Coming up calmly. That calcaneus tendon, getting a really good stretch. And then releasing slowly. And any movements you need to take just to keep things limber and loose and breath centered. Either taking hold of your elbows or bringing the hands into Paschima Namaskara, which I like a good old swing at, as you can see. And then again, lots of little movements together make huge progress. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step is obviously a saying that has wisdom. So I'm still moving my arms little by little, using my spinous processes, the bony prominences that stick out to the skin, towards the skin of the back. Then stepping your feet apart, whether you're holding your elbows or whether you've got your hands in Paschima Namaskara. Breathing through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft. A meditative, breath-centered release into the pectoralis muscle. That's your chest muscles. So the hands are behind us, Paschima Namaskara, or holding the elbows. We're breathing into it as explained. There are two stepping stones to yoga. One, a rich experience like this stretch. Two, giving to that rich experience. Keep the jaw soft, keep the eyes soft. Giving to that rich experience. How do you give? And how do you resist in life? With the breath. Is there ever a time when you're not giving or resisting? No, there's never a time. We are always, in every moment, resisting that moment or giving to it. And you can always feel that at your breath. We're going to turn the back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finish off the turn on the heel, but then, importantly, walk the front foot further across the width of the mat before lifting the back heel, turning it out, before bringing that down again. Light tone of the tummy, spread in the chest, lifting up from the pubis, soft in the eyes, expressive in the breath. Inhale from the inner back groin up, gently. Exhale, hinge from the hip joints and feel like the back leg almost feels like it escapes. It's quite nice to think of it almost escaping
In the past, I've described that experience like you're standing in a stream and the leg, like a fast flowing stream, and the leg just inevitably is sort of drawn back. The back leg is drawn back. Keep the jaw passive. We wouldn't go wider than hip width, otherwise we're starting to really add twists to the back muscles. Not that that's wrong, but it's just different. But again, if you go too wide, you lose some of the buoyancy of a posture. It starts to sort of drop. Come up with the chest when you're ready. Turn the feet to the front. Breathe through your nose. Keep your arms in position and breathe. The advice is to breathe a yes into it. Yes, I give. Yes, I trust. Yes, I believe in the power of the goddess, which is the power of this moment. When opened up to liberate from the delusion of separate self that causes clinging and suffering. Back toes in, front foot and leg out. As you turn, walk the front foot across the width of the mat, lift the back heel. We can go up to, but not beyond hip width. Our bare minimum would be heel to heel. We would never go narrower than that. We would never have heel to arch as we would in some other poses. Breathing through your nose, soft eyes. Drop the shoulders, but tone the tummy so that you can feel some buoyancy at the pelvic floor, some sense of buoyancy. Inhale, lift from the inner groin of the back leg. Exhale, extend as you hinge. Feel the back leg, as it were, escaping. Keep breathing your yeses into the pose. It's called Pajvottanasana. Pajva is the side, Pajva, the side. We hear it in other poses too. Pajvottanasana, Pajva Konasana is another one. Pajva Upavishta Konasana. So always this word Pajva, Pajva. Breathing through the nose, eyes soft. Meditative absorption comes naturally by accepting the invitation to give to the dance of the moment. Leading with the chest, hinging from the hip joints, keeping those legs steady. Coming up, turning back to the front, releasing slowly, because it's a big old stretch. And we're going to come down to sitting on the floor in Sukhasana. Now, you might find it useful to sit on a block. If you're on 2 blocks, which is a very good way to do the pose, use a blanket underneath your shins if you're on 2 blocks. There should be a gap. The buttock flesh should be repeatedly drawn out and back. And then once you've got that all feeling aligned, you can either pull on your shins or rest your hands on your knees and breathe through your nose, softening that which can be softened, softening the body, mind, breath simultaneously. So as we move, we can feel that we massage into a softness. Of the body, mind, and breath. Shoulders down, head up. Inhale, lift up from your groins. Exhale, one hand on the floor behind you, the other hand crosses over both legs. It's the Parivrita version of the pose. Some people, maybe you, but maybe not, have got very long arms. And those people find it comfortable / possible to reach round their backhand and hold their thigh with it, just as I'm doing here. There's my hand holding the thigh. But for most of us, that doesn't work out. Obviously, how wide your waist is relative to how long your arms are, relative to how tight your pectoralis muscles are, and so on. So for most of us, we're keeping the hand cupped. We can, of course, also put a belt around the thigh and hold on to that if you wanted to get that experience of the clasped version, which does bring not better pose, but it's different. It's different dynamic. Tuning out, tuning in. It's not a subtlety. Breath comes and goes. Return to center. Pause for a moment. Catch your breath. I'd like to hear it, but I would like to hear it. I'd like to hear you take a proper deep breath. And then, another, and then another. And when you feel you're ready to take that next deep breath to lift with it, and turn the other way. So this is parivrita. Some people confuse initially the words parshva and parivrita, just because they begin with a P and then an A and then an R. But after that, they're different. So parivrita means to really turn. Vrit is the root of the word vrita. It's also the root of pretty much exactly the same word vriti, which begins the Yoga Sutra after Atta Yoganushāsanam. We have Yogascitta Vritti Nirodha. What is yoga? Yoga is the effective cessation of the oscillations of the mind. Again, those of you who got that situation with a long arm, or if you want to take a belt and bring it around your thigh and hold that, it's up to you. And then either way, focusing on the central channel, the sushumna, also known as the avadhuta, also known as the chandalini or the chandali. Breathing through your nose. Eyes soft, brain soft. It's a meditation, which means it's an absorption. Meditation means absorption. Keep that breath flowing naturally. Empty of grasping. The palm of the hand against the leg can be in or out. There are different results, but both positive. Great. Okay, well done. Release nice and slow. And you might well want to be on a block, even if you're not on a block yet, or just stay on a block, because we're going to come into Bharadvajasana, and I think 1 to 2 blocks suits everybody. I think 1 block is minimum, because otherwise the knees just don't have enough space. Depends how big your thighs are as well. If you do a lot of warrior poses, you might have big, strong thighs. You might need to sit on 2 blocks. We're going to bring our legs over to one side, having sat on a minimum of 1 block. We've got the knees a little way apart. We've got the lower shin in the foot arch. And there's a bit of lifting and shifting. That back leg, the one we're going to be turning away from, we need to make sure that it's passive and soft and relaxed. So I'm just patting mine. You can rub it. There should be some correlation between its release and the breath and the mind's release. So that when we lift, that back leg doesn't lift with us. And we turn away from the feet. You got it. Aparigraha, empty of grasping. Eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Natural. Sahaja. Breath centered, spontaneous. Eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft.
We're going to release and repeat, but a little differently. This time we're going to lift and turn and bring our hand to the inside of the near leg, the one, not the far leg, but the near one. And then we're going to reach our other arm behind and see if we can take hold of that arm, perhaps by bending the elbow. You got it. Great. And still with the focus on not raising that back leg, we turn. Possibly some people will feel that they want to bring the arm all the way to the outside of the leg while still holding it. That's another option. It's not incumbent on us, and it's not inherently better. It could be worse. Better just means it's more effective at creating absorption. Remember, too much is too much, too little is too little. So this is another version of the same pose, Bharadvajasana. This is the version that I first learnt. And being a bit of a pure Iyengar purist at the time, I was shocked to see people doing other versions. But of course, the pose itself is actually, I've learned retrospectively, is based on Buddhist monks and the way they sit. Okay, release back to center, stretch the legs out. And the name Bharadvaja is a very familiar name if you read Buddhist text. Bharadvaja comes up several times. Let's bring our legs to the other side. Same thing. Remember that it's somewhere along the lower shin, that foot comes into the other arch, lifting and shifting. For some, it isolates tension at the top of the thigh, which is good to have isolated and brought into our awareness. You can rub your thigh, pat it. We're only about efficacy, not about, sticking rigidly to anything. So you can move forwards, backwards, left, right. We're only about efficacy, and the sign that things are affecting us as they should is the breath. When you're ready, without lifting the back leg, lift and turn. Breathe through your nose if you can. Aparigraha, empty of grasping. Eyes soft, jaw soft, brain soft, throat soft. Aparigraha, empty of grasping. Natural. Sahaja, natural. Okay, return to center, and we'll do our second version of the same pose. In this second version, as before, still make sure that leg is loose, and the mind will have to be loose for the body to be loose. The hand comes to the inside of the first leg, and the other arm comes round, and you take hold directly. One hand, you can see the back hands coming round, holding. Wonderful for any hypertension in the chest, or the rotator cuff muscles, and particularly the subscapularis, which often gets hypertense, especially if you work at a computer. And then there's the option to continue to take that arm to the outside of the other leg as well, but it's an option, and it might be too much. Too much is just as problematic as too little. Doesn't help at all. You've got to get not too much, not too little, but the Goldilocks amount. The amount that allows you, that invites you to release and allows you to do so. It invites you to release, but also allows that to be possible. Eyes soft, breathing through the nose, jaw soft, brain soft, throat soft. Parigraha. Couple more breaths. Bharadvajasana, Bharadvaja.
is the name of the sage. Wonderful. Release back to center. I think it's quite a big stretch. And then we're going to stretch our legs out, and we are going to remain on a block or two. Now, if you're sitting on 2 blocks from this next pose, you'll need a third behind you. The pose itself is Marichyasana number 3, and I've gone sideways onto you because it's the best way for you to see the posture, and you can do the same as well if you want, because you'll better then turn towards me. So if you're sideways onto me, I'm sideways onto you. That should work out fairly well. It doesn't matter if you can't arrange that. It's fine as you are. If you are sideways onto me, just bend the leg that's closest to me, just as I'm bending the one closest to you. And interlace your fingers around your shin. And allow a bit of massaging movement, side to side, massaging the back, encouraging the release of the breath. Keeping the eyes kind of soft and relaxed. And the brain also soft and relaxed. Now, I think it's useful to just take the leg out a little bit, and then, that is the straight leg, and then raise the same arm as the straight leg, and it comes over to the outside of the bent leg. And you can do that as many times as you want. This is all about getting the abdominal tissue, especially the lower abdominal tissue, to be massaged round. It's a great massage for the intestines. So I'm doing backwards and forwards. And when I go forwards, there's a moment where you lean back, suck in your tummy, turn, and then lock it in by going forwards again. So I'll just repeat that in case you missed it. As you turn, you lean back, suck in your tummy, lift up your chest. That will give you more turn. And then you go forwards again towards your leg. It locks in what you've just done. So you can do that lots of times. Sucking in, lifting, turning, sucking in, lifting, turning, sucking in, lifting, turning. Very beneficial for the thoracolumbar fascia. The more you move, the more hydrated it is, and the more we experience this union, which is what the subject, of course, is named after, a sense of union. Okay. Marichyasana number 3. Release, return to center, stretch out your legs, breathe through your nose, give yourself a bit of a rub down because these twists are pretty pokey. Make sure it's a Vyana Vayu, an all over energy rub down. So rub down everywhere. And I'm going to scoot over to the other end of my mat so I can still face you. That's optional whether or not you want to do that. And you know what the pose looks like now, so you don't need to. But if you want the encouragement of my loving face, you could have that. Bend the other leg similarly. And lift up and play in similar ways. So you can have your fingers interlaced around your shin is one option. But what we're doing, all of us together, is massaging and looking for a release and agreement. There's that word again, agreement. So that so many fibers can come together. Similarly to before, we can hop the straight leg just a 1 or 2 centimeters max out. And then when ready, taking the same arm as the straight leg up, sucking in the tummy, and leaning forwards, hook it round. And then you might need several more movements. I should say that for some people, especially if you're sitting on blocks, the shin and thigh bone might be fairly short, and therefore the knee doesn't come up very high. And therefore it's really hard to hook round. You just keep missing it. People whose hamstrings are fairly open can lean forwards, and that can help with the hook. But otherwise, you can put your foot on a block, and that can help to get that hook round without having to curve the spine. Again, lots of repetition,
forwards, backwards, sucking in, lifting up. Lots and lots and lots of repetition. That's how you make lots of progress without even noticing. Progress in terms of flushing the nervous system. Breathing easy. Marichasana, number 3. Breathe through your nose if you can. Great job. Release, cool, calm, collected. Okay, let go. Come off your block. Now, if you've got 2 blocks, that's what I'm going to suggest you have. If you've got them, you put 2 blocks together, long side to long side. Now, actually, they don't actually have to touch. They don't actually have to touch. They can just be close. And then they come near the end of your mat, but far away enough that you can then fold your mat back, just as I've done there. Ready for Supta Sukhasana. It's very common for people to put the blocks the wrong way around. This is the right way around. We can explain why that is another time, but it is. And then fingers face forwards towards the bum, tuck under, elbows calm down, tuck under again. We're coming down to Supta Sukhasana. A really terrific pose. I should mention, just in case, that sometimes some people will need to bring the legs together, roll onto the side, come up from the side, and come back into it, but with a blanket going underneath the shins before you lay down. So that's a possibility that you might need that. Hands can be on the lower ribs, upper chest is another suggestion, out to the sides or over the head. I quite like over the head, although when I teach up here, I used to always teach in the downstairs space, and I'm in everyone's way, so I teach up here now. Not loads of room, but enough still to stretch your arms over your head. So lots of repetition if you do that, over the head option. And then, of course, it's breath. Keep relaxing areas like your neck and repeating movements of the shoulder blades if you find it useful. When you like it, you really like it. And I really like it. And I think most people do. But just in case, we're going to change across the legs now anyway. And I don't know if you find this too, but I find I want to bring my hands forwards just below the PSIS, the posterior superior iliac spine. And I want to scoot the buttocks under. And in doing that, my back's longer. And then you can again choose lower ribs, upper chest, moving the elbows to make that more comfy, or over the head, as is my current favorite. Not making a commitment for the rest of my life to it, but currently prefer that. And of course, whatever version you do, move in ways that promote integration. Let's take 5 or 6 deep breaths with a focus on long, releasing exhales. Soft eyes. Again, it's a pose I love, but we're going to bring our arms forwards now. Bring the legs together and roll over onto your side. Come up calmly from the side and open up your mat. We're going to sit for Siddhasana, which I recommend
that you sit on a brick block if you've got one. This one happens to be blue, but actually most of our brick blocks here are cork. But this one's quite handy. But you can sit, if you don't have a brick block, you can sit on the regular blocks with the short end facing forwards, like that. Or you can even sit without a block. I do tend to think that because the way it stretches the psoas, for nearly everyone I've ever met, I can only think of one person actually who doesn't benefit from sitting on a brick block. So we're sitting up nice and tall and breathing. And if a different seated pose is better for you, that's fine as well. Focusing on the heart area and perhaps the color blue. We'll bring our hands to the heart to chant the Dhenu Bija, Hung. The color blue, the Dhenu Bija, the heart center. Take a deep breath in. Hung. And a few more deep breaths come and go. Release the hands. We'll come to our final pose, arguably at least as important and arguably more important, the most important pose. Certainly, it's said to be in the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra an excellent, one of the best Sanketas. Sanketa means with flag, but it's really just a technique. And we're going to lay ourselves down for corpse pose, Shavasana. So make sure you're comfortable, make sure you're warm. Ready for Shavasana, comfortable and warm. It's an eyes closed, jaw soft position. The palms should face up and not be too close to the body. Everything that can be soft is soft. Limbs release completely. Feel the full, the total weight, complete weight of your arms, legs, and head. Full weight, the complete weight of your arms, legs, and head.
Feel the whole body as a whole body. And notice the correlation between settling and expansion. One of the many great things about doing these classes on Zoom, of course, or on YouTube or through the internet, is that during corpse pose, you can stay as long as you've got. So if you've got a few more minutes to really let things settle in, there will be a natural point where everything's balanced, there's homeostasis. It feels like everything's been absorbed. And it will be natural to you to come up at that point. It may be, however, that you need to fit into the time slot allocated. And so either at that time, when you feel the body's absorbed, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or at this time, we will be, or we are, moving the fingers and toes and stretching out in our own organic, natural ways. Maybe rubbing the eyes and hair. As I say, that might not be now, but it might be in a few minutes, or it might be now. And at that time, or at this time, we'll then bend the legs and place the feet on the floor. We'll scoot the buttocks under and take a deep breath in and out before rolling over to the left side, laying as comfortably as we can. And then the right side similarly, as comfortably as we can, before letting in light and color and bringing ourselves slow and easy up from the side. Either then laying where you are, or coming up and bringing the hands to prayer. We'll do this lovely Buddhist practice of sharing merit. May any benefits that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. I'm so grateful for your time. It's so super and fabulous to see you. I'm turning the lights up so I don't just look like a weird silhouette. I can figure out how to turn the light. There's the light. Thank you so much for your time. I still look like a weird silhouette. Try and not be silhouetted. See you really soon. Thanks so much for coming. May all beings be happy. Thank you very much. Bless you. Bless you. See you soon, gang. Thanks for everything. Ciao for now. Bye.